Welcome back to Bible Fun with the Duns.
Today we're in 1 Kings
Chapter 16.
chapter 16. And let's get right into it.
All right. So today we had a good list of kings. We had King Asa reigning in the south, and he was pretty steady that whole time. But then we had a hot mess express in the north, and we see a revolving door of Jeroboam's descendants. And as we read through this chapter, I couldn't help, obviously we're running the roads, I could not help think of what Preacher Hubs always talks about in the pulpit. Just the way we live matters. The things we do matter, and it doesn't just affect us. When we choose sin, it affects those around us. We don't sin in a vacuum. We affect the generations after us. And that's what I see here, a legacy of sin being handed down. And what we see, like what we see Jeroboam be bad at and hurt God's heart and anger him because of the evil he chooses, we see them get worse and worse and worse as we carry on in generations. We end the chapter with King Ahab, who I see his name and immediately I think of evil, because from here on out, kings are kind of compared to him as to if they followed the Lord or if they were the bad guy, and he's like the measure of the worst of the worst. And so I think of, the sin that we dabble in could be the sin that our kids and our grandkids become experts in. But also I think of that in a positive sense also. We are all leaving a legacy, and so if we are doing our best to live holy lives, hopefully those are the things we're handing down. Hopefully if we live a life seeking God and trying to be holy, hopefully that's something our kids and our grandkids just get better and better at and pick that up.
Yeah, I think whenever you read through this, what you're seeing is the northern kingdom was in chaos. And it all comes down to their spiritual lives. Remember, the book of Kings you hear it and you think it's a political book, but it's not a political book. It's all a spiritual book, because everything comes back to not their accomplishments. I mean, how many times did we read and it says, and all their accomplishments and all their feats were recorded in the books of the kings of Israel? Okay, but it doesn't list that stuff. What does it list? It lists whether they did right or evil in the eyes of the Lord. Now, the first thing kind of you notice when you see that is legacy. Like Jenny talked about, parents passing these things down, but just understand that northern kingdom is in chaos, and it's continually getting worse and worse and worse, which means that their spiritual problem was really beginning to blossom. The way that we as believers are supposed to bear like the fruit of the Spirit, they're sowing and reaping like storms and whirlwinds spiritually. So much so that there's murder and assassination and death, and I mean it's just getting ugly all the way around this thing. Now, how does this all work out? Because they did evil in the eyes of the Lord. That's why there's chaos. And by the way, remember the Bible says that God is not the author of confusion. Well, who is? The devil. Mm-hmm. And so you see this evil at work within the community. But also you have this King Asa again. There's a fear of, what do I do if I've not been a great parent and I pass along sin to my kids? Well, first of all, that is a struggle, and it's a legitimate struggle. But understand this: Asa's daddy was terrible, but Asa was a man that loved the Lord as God. And so I'm gonna tell you what, even if your parents didn't give you the best example, you still have a responsibility to live for the Lord. And so when you're reading through this passage, understand everything about this is spiritual. Everything comes back to what they've done. And by the way, notice how every single Jeroboam dies, his son dies, their entire family dies, and every other king who's not even related to him is still measured against his sin. You think that's how Jeroboam wanted to be remembered for all of the rest of history? No. But be careful what you live for, because what you live for follows you. That's kind of what you need to look for as you read through this. All right? Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.